Hey guys, it's Addie, and I'm so excited to bring you guys a book review that I have been working on for quite a while. Obviously, I've been gone for like probably 3 weeks to a month, and you're probably wondering what happened. She said she's going to do one book a week and all of that. I've still been reading. It's just that with my studies and my work schedule and the end of the semester for spring semester, I had way too much going on to be able to sit down and really read the way I wanted to and finish the books that I wanted to finish. So I had like 3 different assignments due, and they were all like 10 plus pages each with research. And so I had other reading to do for school. Um, but now that that's done, I'm a little bit freer. I finally finished the book that I started. The last video I told you I'd be reading, Switch on Your Brain by Caroline Leaf. And this has been a really good book. From the moment I picked it up, I already knew it was going to be good. And this was a book I actually borrowed from my good friend Jamie Cross. And so I was so careful not to write in it. I love writing in my books, so I have all these little tabs. And I took notes this time, which I think I should do that more often when I'm reading, just so I can remember things better. Um, and so with today's book review, I'm also going to be reading from my notes just because there's a lot of content and information that I don't want to miss out on, that I kind of want to share with you guys, that I was excited to find out as I read this book. So I'm going to go ahead and start with, I'm going to read the back. I'm going to tell you how long it was and how long it took me to read. So I read this week Switch on Your Brain by Dr. Caroline Leaf, and it says the key to peak happiness, thinking, and health. And she also has, there's 2 parts to this book. The second part, she talks about her 21-day brain detox plan. That is so hard to say. And so the back says, you are not a victim of your biology. What we think about truly affects us both physically and emotionally. Today, our culture is undergoing an epidemic of toxic thoughts that, left unchecked, create ideal conditions for illnesses. Supported by current scientific and medical research, Dr. Caroline Leaf exposes the switch in your brain that will enable you to live a happier, healthier, and more enjoyable life where you achieve your goals, get your thought life under control, and even become more intelligent. And her 21-day brain detox plan guides you step by step through the process of replacing toxic thoughts with healthy ones. Ready to reap the benefits of a detox thought life? Read on. So, So basically, neuroscientist, and she did some therapy for like 22 years, I believe she mentioned in her book. This book was about 200, let me see. There was a little afterword. It was only a couple of pages. So this book was 200 and, where'd it go? 205 pages. So when I started this book, I was able to read half of it within like a day or two. And then the last half I read, what was it, a couple of days ago, and it took me maybe a day. So I would say this book really took like 3 days to read. So that, for me, that was not too bad. It was really easy to understand, and I just loved the way it was written was good, and the structure was good, and I love how at the end of each chapter, she does a little summary, which was interesting. At first, I'm like, why are you summarizing what you just said? But, I mean, like, duh, she's a neuroscientist. She wants this stuff to stick in your brain, so she's going to remind you. It's a great way to recap on things that I forgot, and a great way to remember the things that she was saying in her book. So I'm going to go ahead and look at my notes and just read a couple things I wrote down that I thought, whoa, these are good. So a main part is, as we think, we change the physical nature of our brain. And so as we're thinking, having thoughts, whatever thoughts are coming through, we actually change the physical look of our brain, which I'm like, wow, that's cool. And I've heard of plasticity before. And so she talks about neuroplasticity and neurogenesis. We can actually create new links in our brain. So you know how people say, oh, you're fully developed at this age or that age, and you can't move beyond that point. Whatever you know is what you know, how you are is who you are. And that's actually a lie. Like, that is not a fact. You can actually grow and change and learn and develop until you pass away from this earth. And her research kind of coincides with a theory that I've been pretty interested in my program, which is postmodernism, and the idea that you are constantly changing, you're constantly a work in progress. It doesn't matter how old you are, you can still change, and you do change, and that happens. And so some other notes: your mind is stronger than your body. You are wired for love. You don't have to get stuck in bad habits. You can change them. And controlling our reactions is the key. So when I read that, I was like, ooh, that's like so me. There's times when I'm not even thinking about what my face looks like 90% of the time. Like, if you're talking to me, I'm either blank faced or I like make a face if you're saying something. I don't even know that's like really happening. And so hearing that you can control your reactions to things, that's something I have to work on, because I'm very emotion driven, reaction driven. Someone saying something, I'm just kind of like, what? And so learning that I can actually control those was cool to hear. Interesting statistic that I read in this book is that 75 to 98 of physical, mental, and behavioral illnesses come from our thought life. Which, if you think about it, it makes so much sense. If you're having a bad day and then you're like, today's a bad day, forget it. I'm just gonna, whatever, like, I'm over it. You know what I'm saying? And then you sit with that and then you stew on it some more. I can't believe she said that to me. And, oh, this is so annoying. And then before you know it, you're not letting your brain rest. You're not letting your body rest. And you're inviting illness into your life because your immune system's weakening. You're probably not focusing to what you're eating. So physically, you're not feeding your cells and your body the nutrients it needs, because you're stuck in this mindset that is, today's a bad day and someone did me wrong. And that has an impact on your body. And not only your body, but your brain. And this is where it got like super cool for me. I guess I'm kind of a nerd. So it says the brain is what wears down the body. So we think, oh, our body is the one that's acting and reacting. It's actually all up here before it comes and starts happening down in here. And what I found really interesting is that she said our DNA actually changes shape when we are under stress. And so when I read this, I was like, oh my gosh, like my brain exploded. So your DNA inside your body, when it's under stress, and this actually makes sense if you can picture it, your DNA there's a strand. And so they looked at DNA under stress, and the DNA actually was tightened and coiled up under stress. And so when your body is sending out different signals, when it's taking that copy, if you know science, you'll understand what I'm talking about. The whole process of the DNA being copied and being expressed when your body is sending out signals for something, either to do something or whatever. So it copies that stressed DNA and sends that out into your body to act and react. And then when you're not under stress and your DNA is relaxed and your body's sending a signal to do something, and it copies that relaxed DNA, and that gets passed out to your body. And that's how we act and react to different things. So when I read that, I was like, oh my gosh, I need to, how can I stop this from happening? And so the World Health Organization found that 80% of cancers are due to lifestyle and not genetics. And this is a touchy subject. A lot of people are getting cancer nowadays. My dad went through cancer a couple of years ago, and so I completely understand this is a sensitive subject, and some people might say, no, it's not lifestyle, but the way that we live our lives on a daily basis, I'm not talking overall, I'm not talking about genetics, but they're talking about that 80%. So what strain you're putting in your mind and what stress you're putting on yourself and what thoughts that are toxic that you're letting in your brain be expressed and copied and sent through your body as messages to act and react in the world is what will eventually take a toll on you and affect your health. And so I read that and I was like, man, that is critical. There's so many people that are dealing with this disease and so many people that are fighting for their lives. And it could be that their lifestyle that they're living, the thoughts that they're allowing their brain, they're allowing toxic thoughts, and over time that accumulates and causes these devastating effects. And so let's see. She differentiated between daytime thinking and nighttime thinking. So when we're awake, our daytime thinking is we're building, we're getting information in, we're processing, we're doing things with that information in the daytime. Nighttime, when we're sleeping, is more of a sorting. So our brain is never off when we go to sleep. Our brain doesn't shut down and say good night. No, your brain is on 24/7 for the rest of your life. It is always working. And so at night, the process that's happening is you're sorting all of those events and activities that had happened throughout your day. You're sorting memories from your past. You're sorting the thoughts you've told yourself. You're sorting the songs you listen to. You're sorting the things you've told yourself throughout the day. And then another thing she said is that our thoughts can impact the next 4 generations. And we know this to be true, that our thoughts, they're so powerful that they can impact the next 4 generations. And she's not just talking about attitudes that are passed down, but also health that is passed down. If you are allowing toxic thoughts into your brain, like I said earlier, and that's what your DNA is expressing and throughout your body, and then you contract illnesses or diseases, you are passing those down because of your thought life. And so that continues to get passed down and passed down. And so how do we kind of like stop this process? Because that sucks, you know, we don't want to stay there, right? So she said there's some strategies to control stress. There's one strategy where you can spend 5 to 16 minutes a day meditating on capturing your thoughts. And what this does is it helps us engage more with the world and gives us a happier outlook on life. Those are the 2 things she said. So sitting there, practice doing this when you wake up. Wake up, sit there. What's that first thought that comes in your brain? Okay. Oh, that's that first thought. Write it down. You know, capture what is coming and filtering in through your brain, because more often than not, we don't sit around thinking about what's coming in our brain and out of our brain. We don't say, oh, I just had this thought, or, oh, no, we think it, we feel it, we move on, good or bad. So you have to kind of think, are the thoughts that are filtering through my brain, are they more positive or are they more negative? And if they're more negative, then that's going to lead to that toxicity that will express throughout the rest of you and your body. And you kind of have to think. And what I loved about this book too is that throughout the book, she not only brings in scientific and research-based examples, but she also ties it with scripture and with the Bible. And so for me, that was just helpful because the Bible's already ahead of what we've known. And I feel like science is catching up to the Bible. And she said that, and we've probably heard that said before. And so strategies to control us, I'm jumping all over the place. Another one is directed rest. And this is hard for me. I don't like to sit still. I don't like to, that's a lie. I like to sit still, but if you're saying like just rest and like do nothing else when there's things to do, that is hard. And so she's saying we have to have time when we are having directed rest, where we are conscious of what is filtering in our brains and where we are aware of the impact that that's having on us, to give our brain a break. Because like I said, our brain is on 24 hours the rest of your life. When do you sit and let your brain process things and work things through? We don't really, unless we're intentional about that. Let's see. Negative thinking changes the brain structure, like I talked about earlier. And direct your rest. So how do you direct your rest? You can do that through introspection, which is thinking and self-reflecting on yourself and on your thoughts, and then prayer. And then another part, there's so much, there's so many, this video is probably going to be really long. Another part that she brought up, and the chapter I was most excited to read in here was about multitasking. And I always thought multitasking is a good thing. If you can, I'm good at multitasking. People put it on their resumes. I can handle multiple things at once, et cetera, et cetera. But multitasking is actually not good for you. And the chapter in this book was, is multitasking really beneficial? Well, it's not. When we're multitasking, we sacrifice the quality of our attention. And God has designed us for a deep and intellectual attention. That comes from Proverbs 4:20 through 23. And so when we are doing this, doing that, we're not letting our brain fully absorb what it's supposed to be absorbing in the moment, and we're actually missing out. So we think we're doing more, we're not doing more. We're only getting fragments of what we want. We're not getting the full picture. And so that has helped me to at least plan out how I do things now, where I'm less inclined to try to juggle multiple things at once. Now I'm like, if I'm focused on one thing, I'm focused on one thing. If I'm going to read this book, I'm going to read. If I'm going to clean this area, I'm going to clean, and that's it. If I'm going to talk to this person, I'm going to talk to them. I'm not going to be on my laptop, not scrolling, not doing anything else, to really fully get what's happening. And then there's actually a scale, and so I'm going to find it and probably link it in the comments below, or the description box. And there's a scale called the Bergen Facebook Addiction Scale, which I'm like, ooh, everybody loves Facebook. And so it's a scale pretty much measuring if you use Facebook as just something that you just look at, or if you're really addicted to it and you have a problem. And I'm actually going to take the scale and see, am I addicted to Facebook? I don't think so. All right. So let's see. Our intelligence is continually developing. What else? Mirror neurons. Oh yeah, mirror neurons are really good. And empathy. Let's see. They've actually discovered atoms, or discovered, I don't know what to call them, these things called prenons, and then tiny vibrating strings. So we all think that the atom is the smallest unit. They've actually found smaller units. And so I think that makes me feel like things are always changing. And so be open to that. Be open to, science is learning, like, we don't even know like 80% of the creatures on this planet. Like, they're still discovering new insects, new bugs, new animals every single day. Like, we don't know everything. So that just gives me the idea that we should always be flexible in our thinking and adaptive to what's going on, because we're always learning new things. Nothing is ever firm and solid. The only thing that's firm and solid is God, and that's the only one you can trust in. But other than that, things that we're learning out in the world always change. And then what else? You control your brain does not control you. And then in part 2, she gets into her 5 steps for her 21-day 21-day brain detox plan. That is so hard to say. Try to say that 3 times fast. So the 5 steps are to gather information, which is sitting for 7 to 10 minutes, and just whatever thoughts come, you capture those thoughts. 2, focused reflection. You think about those thoughts. 3, write them down, and kind of build a little tree and see, oh, this is the thought and this is where it's coming from, and kind of see it in that way. And then you revisit that, and add on what you want to change about that thought. And then active reach, which is when you're actively doing something about that thought. So, for example, if the thought is, I'm so fat and nobody likes me, and that thought is constantly on circulation in your brain, you first of all would sit for 5 to 7 minutes, and that thought pops in, oh, wow, I don't like that thought. That's negative, right? I'm fat and nobody likes me. Okay, that's what I've gathered. That's the thought I'm going to work on processing and changing and detoxing. The next thing would be reflecting, why do I think that way? What's happened in my life that I feel that way? Oh, maybe I grew up and someone's always told me that I'm fat, or I never felt like I was pretty compared to other people, or I've always had an issue, XYZ, you get it. Then you write down. This is very important because when you write things down, it sticks better for you. You really will grasp it. And then so write it down so you can see it, so it can stick in your brain, and then revisit that thought. You know what? The Bible doesn't say, it says I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Write that next to that thought. Write down I am beautiful. Write down I am wonderful. Write down people do like me. I do have friends. And then the active reach part, and this is the part where it can make or break this detoxing of these negative thoughts. And that is the active reach. And that is when you're actually doing something when that thought pops back in your brain. So during the 21 days, when that thought pops back in, you either have a way to counteract it, or you say something, or you do something. For example, if the thought pops in, I could say, no, I'm fearfully and wonderfully made, and that's what God says about me, and that's how he sees me, and that's who I am. And then move on. And then it pops in again. No, I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. That's how God sees me, and that's who I am. And you keep doing that, and you do that for 21 days, and you keep doing the other 5 steps too. And at the end of 21 days, that thought will be replaced with the positive thought. And so that toxic thought is gone. And so that's pretty much breaking down her 21-day detox plan. And she does have a workbook that goes with it. I don't have the workbook, my friend does, but I'm probably going to order it just because I'm like, that's a really good way to, because I want to live a healthy life. I want to live a long life. I don't want to pass down toxicity to my children or my children's children or my children's children's children. I want to set them up for life in a good way, and I want their DNA to have within it what it needs to thrive and be successful. And so I loved this book. It was so good, and I give it a 10. It was just awesome. And there's actually a conference I'm going to go to later this year in October, and Dr. Caroline Leaf should be there, I believe. And so if I get to talk to her, that would be super, super cool. All right, so that was my little book review on this book. And next week, I will be reading Shame. I'm just kidding. There's all these arrows too. But I'm going to be reading this book on shame, and I've been holding off on reading it because it just seems like a really good book, and I didn't want to read it too soon. And so I'm really excited to read this one, and whether I finish it in a week or not, I don't really care anymore. I'm just going to finish it, and when I finish it, I will get back to you guys. But thank you so much for watching. If you've read any good books lately, I'm always on the look for books. I just bought some new books probably 2 weeks ago, so I'm still getting more and more books. So if you have any suggestions, put them in the comments below. I will also link the Bergens Facebook scale, and if you want to take that little assessment and like post how you did, I would be curious. All right, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.